It's so difficult to name him a QB2, especially when you say you're so invested in a kid's development. Well, Dylan Gabriel, even though he's played far significantly more in college, like 64 games in college over a 6-year period, I get that part. But still in all, I don't like how this feels. I just don't.
Well, one, let's see what he says. Like, let's see once they declare who the number 2 quarterback is going to be, who that actually is. Stephen A., when you say it doesn't smell right, in what regard? That would be my question, because are you saying it doesn't smell right because he's not naming Shedeur?
Kevin Stefanski's handling of Shedeur Sanders has reached a boiling point. What started as a quiet rivalry has now turned into a full-blown saga, and experts are starting to weigh in. The pressure is mounting on Stefanski, with many questioning why Shedeur isn't QB2, especially with Joe Flacco no longer in the picture. There's been a lot of talk about Stefanski's decision-making, and the growing frustration surrounding it is hard to ignore. The question remains, why is Shedeur being overlooked for the backup spot? And what's really driving this tension? As the situation continues to escalate, all eyes are on Stefanski and how he handles the pressure.
So I looked at it like that, and I just said to myself, okay, but that's how it goes. You know, Joe Flacco's a veteran. You know, Kevin Stefanski, knows what he's doing as a coach, etc. But then something like this happens. We're supposed to sit here and believe that Bailey Zappi is a guy that's the QB2 on this squad. Really, that's what we're doing now?
Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back, calling out Stefanski for his decisions. He pointed out that when Stefanski removed Joe Flacco from the starting role, it seemed like a clear indication that Shedeur Sanders would step in as the backup. But instead, Stefanski named Flacco as the QB2, and now, even with Flacco gone, Shedeur is still being passed over. To make matters worse, Bailey Zappi is reportedly ahead of Sanders on the depth chart, which, according to Stephen A., is simply unacceptable at this point. The situation has gone too far, and something has to change. Stephen A. didn't stop there. He went on to stress how strange it is that Shedeur Sanders is still sitting so far down the depth chart. He highlighted Sanders' impressive performance against the Panthers in the preseason, pointing out that he played exceptionally well. On top of that, Stephen A. noted that Shedeur's behavior off the field reflects his strong character, making him not only a talented player, but also a great person. Despite all of this, Stefanski continues to overlook him, even though he often talks about the importance of rookie development. It just doesn't add up, and Stephen A. made it clear that this situation is beyond frustrating.
Shedeur Sanders played well, albeit against Carolina. Obviously, another game in the preseason, not so much. And I get that part, too. And, of course, I get the fact that he's practicing with the team every day so the coach knows. I'm just finding it hard to believe that it's so difficult to name him a QB2, especially when you say you're so invested in a kid's development.
Dan Orlovsky also weighed in, questioning Stefanski's approach to the entire situation. He pointed out that everything, from the trade of Flacco to the handling of the quarterback depth chart, has turned into a complete mess. Orlovsky argued that it makes no sense for Stefanski to make Bailey Zappi the QB2, especially when his own trained quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, is still on the roster. It's a decision that, according to Orlovsky, leaves everyone scratching their heads, as it just doesn't add up.
Let's see what he says. Like, let's see once they declare who the number 2 quarterback is going to be, who that actually is. Stephen A., when you say it doesn't smell right, in what regard? That would be my question, because are you saying it doesn't smell right because he's not naming Shedeur?
Coach Stefanski's continued refusal to give Shedeur Sanders a legitimate opportunity is quickly becoming one of the most perplexing decisions in Cleveland this season. The Browns are stuck in a quarterback dilemma, but Stefanski persists with this narrative of a developmental quarterback, as if fans are still buying into it. The reality is, everyone can see that the team is struggling at the quarterback position, yet Stefanski remains firm in his stance that it's all about long-term development. It's a tough pill for fans to swallow, as the team's immediate needs seem to be ignored in favor of a future that feels uncertain.
These are young players that you're so invested in their development, so I'll let the week play out and make a decision later on that. Yeah, I trust in all of our players. I trust in their ability and those type of things. I just always want to set our guys up for success, bottom line.
In his latest press conference, Kevin Stefanski defended his decision by stating that he's not willing to take risks with young players like Shedeur Sanders. It almost feels like he's trying to reassure everyone that everything is under control, but the reality is that his actions suggest otherwise as he continues to keep Shedeur on the bench. Stefanski repeatedly hides behind the excuse that Shedeur is too young for such a responsibility, yet he's giving chances to players like Quinshon Judkins, who didn't even have a full training camp but is still out there making an impact. If Judkins can rise to the occasion despite the odds, why isn't Shedeur given the same opportunity? Dan Orlovsky didn't hold back in his response to Stefanski's comments, expressing his disappointment that Shedeur Sanders hasn't even been named QB2 yet, especially when there's no real competition for the spot. Orlovsky raised a crucial point, calling out the Browns' ownership and questioning what happened to their original plan for this season. The plan where they were supposed to assess whether players like Dillon or Shedeur could be the future of the quarterback position. He criticized the Browns' management for their inconsistent, two-faced approach to handling the quarterback situation, making it clear that if this continues, Shedeur may have to move on.
If it's not Shedeur, I do think it's disappointing. I do think it's a question of why not? We've gone through this. Okay, Gabriel, if it's not Shedeur, because we know it's very much so pointing to the future in Cleveland, what's going on that Shedeur hasn't done enough or shown enough or displayed himself enough to be the backup quarterback in a season where we all know it's only about, are any of those guys good?
Stephen A. Smith didn't stop there. He dropped a bombshell that could be a game changer. According to Stephen A., Damian Lillard has reportedly suggested that the Las Vegas Raiders signed Shedeur Sanders to fill their struggling quarterback position. Now, you might be wondering why this is such a big deal. Stephen A. believes this move would make perfect sense for Shedeur, who's been on Stefanski's neglect list. It's a bold suggestion, but given Shedeur's performances, it's one that could shake things up in a major way. Stephen A. Smith really doubled down on this idea, saying that if this trade were to happen, it would be one for the history books. He's a huge believer in Shedeur Sanders, calling him a player with that undeniable charisma, the kind that's built for big moments. According to Stephen A., Sanders thrives under pressure and performs best when the spotlight's shining on him. He made it clear that he has no problem with the suggestion at all, and in fact, he thinks it could be a perfect fit for both Sanders and the Raiders.
I don't know how good Shedeur Sanders is going to be. I know I believe in the brother. I know I wouldn't mind seeing him in Las Vegas. I know I wouldn't mind seeing him in the bright lights on center stage because he's got that kind of swag with him. I definitely feel that way, but I'm here to tell you right now, when I look at it and I look at him, I got to tell you something. I don't mind that suggestion at all.
If Shedeur Sanders does end up joining the Las Vegas Raiders, it could be a complete game changer, not just for Shedeur's career, but for the entire league. We're talking about a young quarterback with immense talent and the potential to shake things up in a way we haven't seen in years. His skill set, combined with the Raiders' need for a solid quarterback, could create the perfect storm for both Shedeur and the franchise. It's clear that he has the ability to step into a starting role and make an immediate impact, proving that his potential is more than just preseason hype. On the flip side, for now, it seems like Coach Stefanski is at a loss. His refusal to give Shedeur Sanders a real shot at quarterback too has raised more questions than answers. Despite all the promise Shedeur has shown, Stefanski is sticking with a narrative of development, while the Browns continue to struggle at the quarterback position. If this decision-making continues, it might be Stefanski's own future with the team that's in jeopardy. For Shedeur, the Raiders could offer an opportunity he deserves, and if that happens, we could be witnessing the start of something special. So, what do you think about all of this? Do you agree with Stephen A. Smith and Dan Orlovsky, who believe Stefanski is making a huge mistake by not giving Shedeur Sanders a real shot? Should the Browns be putting more trust in Shedeur, especially when the quarterback situation is still up in the air? And what about the possibility of Shedeur joining the Las Vegas Raiders? Could that be a game changer for him and the team? Is Stefanski's approach hurting the Browns' chances this season? Or is he right to focus on long-term development? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think.